Hey everyone, it's Kyle with Attended Life, and today I'm going to be building a super simple chicken brooder. This brooder is going to be big enough for right around 60 chicks up to 4 weeks of age. I generally don't keep chickens in my brooder past 3 weeks old because I raise them in the warmer months and it's super hot in our brooder room and outside by the time the chicks are ready to hit grass. For this project, you're going to need 3 2x4x8 boards, a driver, a circular saw, some corner fasteners. I'm going to use these on the bottom of my brooder because I'm going to use some carriage bolts to throw wheels on it when it's not in use so I can take it across my property, don't have to store it inside. Some eye hooks for the rope that you're going to attach to pull it. These carriage bolts and eye hooks are definitely optional. If you're not going to be pulling it a far distance by yourself, don't need to worry about having these or the corner fasteners really. And then a staple gun and some screws. My goal here is to build something really simple, essentially just an 8x4 box that the chickens can be in and be safe inside of my garage. I'm not going to put a cover on it just so I have easy access to tend to the box when needed, scooping shavings, changing out water, adding food, all that good stuff. But if you are going to brood them outside, somewhere where you need predator protection, I would just build an additional 8x4 rectangle that we're going to use, throw it right on top with some hardware cloth, and they should be good to go. For my previous batches of chickens, I had been using Premier One's reusable brooder panels. They're about 18 inches tall, and right around 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks old, all the birds started roosting on top of them. It's just a nightmare with the brooder panels falling and stuff. So being able to have something that's a little more structurally sound and also just a bit taller was definitely on my to-do list. I'm hoping that this will last for batches and batches of birds to come, and I'll be able to use it to brood the birds in my garage moving forward. So the first step of your project is obviously collecting all your supplies, and then next we're going to rip cut all 3 of our 2x4x8 boards right down the middle lengthwise. To do this, I will clamp an additional 2x4 in the center of one of the boards, mark a straight line all the way down, and then cut it. We're doing this, 1, to save on materials, 2, because it doesn't need to be especially strong. You are going to have really tiny birds in it, and as long as you're not falling on it, things like that, it should hold up just fine. And yeah, it's just the easiest way to make the most of your materials. This is probably a great place to remind you guys that 2x4x8s aren't necessarily 2 inches by 4 inches by 8 feet. My 2x4s, pressure treated wood, are 3.5 inches long. So your center point's gonna be 1 3/4 inches on both sides of the board. And I'll show you how I draw the line down the middle and cut. So what I do here is I clamp one of the 2x4s to the top of another 2x4 right in the middle, and then go down with my marker and draw a straight line. Now that your boards are marked with the center line right down the middle, time to cut them. This is a great time for me to give you a couple rip cutting tips. Not that I'm a master or anything, but this is definitely the time to change out your saw blade if it's been a while. If you can't remember when the last time you changed it is, definitely put a fresh one on for rip cutting these boards. That is one of those things that you definitely will not regret doing ever when you're gonna rip cut some 2x4s. Also, don't worry too much about staying super straight on the center line the entire time. This is one of those places where a couple jagged cuts, you know, if you get off center, turn it off, pull back, get back on line. Just don't worry too much. You're not building a set of stairs that people are gonna be walking on. You are building basically a containment pen for under 1 pound chickens. So yeah, don't worry too much about its structural stability, things like that. It's gonna be plenty tough at the end of it. If you do have a couple miscuts, cuts aren't straight, just don't worry too much. Get it done, get it cut, and move on. Now that the first one's cut, I'm gonna cut the last 2 and we'll be in business. So I misspoke when I said that we only needed 3 2x4x8s. We are gonna need a 4th board to be the height sections of our brooder, and that's what I get for not writing anything down. Now that we have 4 of our 2x4x8s ripped down the middle, what we're gonna do is leave 4 of them alone. So we're gonna have 4 2x2x8s, that'll be our length portions. 2 of the other boards we're gonna cut directly in half, which will give you 4 4-foot 2x2 boards. And then the final one, we are gonna cut 4 20-inch lengths on it. This is gonna be the height. That'll give it a total height of about 24 inches, which is not only the height of the hardware cloth that I had on hand, but it's an additional 6 inches onto what I was using before, hopefully buying me another week before they're flying to the top of it. If it gets bad, I'll build another rectangle and put a roof on it like I said to do if you're gonna put it outside, but I'm thinking this should be sufficient for up to 3 weeks with them. Now that you've got 4 8-foot boards, 4 4-foot boards, and 4 20-inch boards, we're ready to assemble this cube. What I'm gonna do first is assemble the rectangles, and then I'm gonna attach them together with the legs. Yeah, let's get started. For the attachment on these legs, on the bottom portion of the frame, I did use some angle braces there, just to give them a little more rigidity. All of the strain that will be on this brooder will be on the bottom portion, mainly when I'm pulling it across the yard for storage. But they feel pretty good and sturdy, so now I'm gonna drop that top portion on, get it attached, and we should be ready to add some hardware cloth after that. Now that the brooder is taken shape, I'm gonna add some angle braces to the inside corners of the bottom portion of the frame, drill holes to put in our axles for the wheels, and also drill a couple of holes so I can add some eye screws that we can attach a rope to pull it. Yeah, at this point, you can skip these steps if you're planning on only moving your brooder a short distance, or maybe leaving it where it's gonna be because you're running multiple rounds of chicks. But yeah, just gonna add some extra rigidity to the frame, potentially a couple more screws to the top rectangle, and then we'll be all ready to add some hardware cloth. Now that your frame is assembled, you've drilled holes for your carriage bolts and your eye hooks if you want to have those pieces, and you've added a little support to the bottom with some angle braces. It's time to staple in our hardware cloth and get this thing finished up. Looks like I'm about 4 or 5 feet off for my hardware cloth length. What I'm gonna do is go grab some chicken wire that I have, double it up for the remaining portion, and we'll be all good. The goal here isn't really to keep predators out, but just to keep chickens in, so that should work just fine. I was excited to have 1/4-inch hardware cloth all around so that I could stack some deep bedding a little higher than I have been, but if needed, I'll do maybe 3 layers of the chicken wire, get it in, and get this thing working. Alright, the rain is coming, so I'm gonna get all the electric tools inside and then hopefully finish this up tomorrow morning. The rain cleared up a little quicker than expected, so let's get the last few staples in, get the chicken wire trimmed, and finish this thing up. At this point, you now have a brooder ready to go for 60 chicks up to 4 weeks old. At 32 square feet of space, this gives you a little over a 1/2 square foot per bird. So They'll be plenty happy in there. They won't be too crammed, congested, anything like that. They should be good up until 4 weeks. Now I'm just gonna slide the carriage bolts in, throw some wheels on, pull this thing across my yard for storage. We have some new meat chickens coming in about 2.5 weeks, so expect plenty of videos once they arrive. And I really appreciate y'all joining me today, and I'll talk to y'all soon.